Laramie City Council to order and invite you all to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll.
Gabriel.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty. Absent. Pierce.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Somerville. Absent. Cumby.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
That's 7 present and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. We'll move on to public comment on non-agenda items. If there's a member of the public wishing to speak to any item that is not on our agenda this evening, go ahead and come forward in the room. All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment period and move to the Vice Mayor to set the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the agenda be set as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, second by Newman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. All right, the agenda has been set. We'll move on to public hearings, and City Clerk, I'll recognize you for the first public hearing.
Let me pull it up really quick, Mayor. I'm noticing that I have 2 of the same in front of me.
Oh, no problem at all.
Okay, notice is hereby given that the City of Laramie City Council will, let me start again. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on August 21st, 2021 in City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting will be held both in online, Zoom, and in-person option to take public comments on the following. FP 24-03, the applicant Quadriline Group LLC is requesting a final plat for the Sundance Hill third filing final plat, creating 33 acres on a 4.3 acre site in an R2 zoned district property located west of Colorado Avenue, north of Riverside Drive. All applications, plans, and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present at the City Council chambers or via Zoom. Webinar ID 820-070-8278, passcode 272258. Written comments may be mailed to City Council, care of City of Laramie Planning Office, P.O. Box C, Laramie, Wyoming 82073. For questions or information, contact City Planning at the address above, by telephone at 307-721-5207, or by email at planning@cityoflaramie.org.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this public hearing? And just as a note, it's on the consent agenda, so if you do have comments, now is your shot. Okay, seeing none, I will close that public hearing. City Clerk, go ahead with the next one.
Thank you, Mayor. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Council Chambers, and via Zoom meeting for the following purpose. Original Ordinance Number 2087, amending Section 6.1605015 of Municipal Code related to vicious animals in the city. All information relative to this matter is available for review at the City of Laramie City Clerk's office at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting or via Zoom.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll open this public hearing. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this can raise their hand on Zoom. Come forward in the room. Seeing none, I'm going to close this public hearing. And I understand we have at least one announcement from staff this evening.
Mayor, thank you. We do. We actually have 2, and I think the Assistant City Manager will be first.
Great. Thank you, City Manager. Assistant City Manager, welcome.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, just a reminder that tomorrow at 9 a.m. will be the groundbreaking event for Laramie Rotary Clubs Park at Grandview Heights. It'll be at the corner of, I believe it's Glacier Drive and Bill Nye. There's no parking on Bill Nye, but there's a dry patch just on the side of the park that you can pull onto, but we hope to see you there.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you. And then from the Community and Economic Development Department.
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to announce that city staff, so planning staff, as well as code enforcement staff, environmental health staff, and our building department, as well as our planning commission, are going to be at every single farmers market in the month of September, doing just some public engagement, general outreach, trying to answer questions. And so just getting that out there, getting the word out there. Each week is going to be kind of a different group of us. And so feel free, stop by, come say hi at least, come say hi. And if you have questions also too for the public, we're going to try to be able to be there to answer questions, hand out information depending upon who is there. And also, you know, if we need to set up meetings later so we can just be out with the people. So attempting to do something a little different, trying to get information out to the public. And so if you're out and about on those Fridays in September, come and visit us. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks.
And yeah, and I appreciate you doing that. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
All right, and we have staff recognition. Thank you, City Manager.
It is my honor tonight, Council, to talk to you about our finance manager, and that is Jennifer Malmberg. Jennifer was nominated to be our Employee of the Month, or our rock star for this month, by the director of her department, Jennifer Wade. We have two Jennifers in the same department. It makes for interesting conversation. Her department director nominated her, saying what a tremendous benefit she is to the department in a number of ways. I will tell you that Jennifer Malmberg started with the city in March of 2023 after the city actively recruited her. She performs accounting functions, a lot of the day-to-day, which is a tremendous amount of work. This city processes hundreds of thousands probably of financial transactions a year. And then she also is providing customer service internally to city staff, and as well as external customer service to our outside account contacts. She assists with year-end processes like the CAFR, which I know you are familiar with, Council, and she works with the auditors to make sure that the city is in compliance with all of the standards that apply to governmental accounting. Jennifer came from the private sector. She says governmental accounting is a little bit different and has enjoyed that challenge. There are more nuances and regulatory standards, as she said, and she notes that our governmental accounting is a little more budget-driven, so that's sort of interesting for us to know who are public sector folks. Jennifer has a bachelor's degree from Metro State in Denver and an MBA from the University of Wyoming. She's an avid mountain bike rider, and I wanted to tell you she is actually prepping for, I'm told, a 50-mile race in Spearfish over Labor Day weekend, so she has a lot more energy than I do, certainly. So anyway, we appreciate that she puts that energy to work here for the citizens of Laramie, and we're so happy to have Jennifer Malmberg on our staff.
Come on forward.
This is where you can say something, or you can say, I politely decline. Now
Well,
let me put you on the spot.
I'm a person of many words, so I just appreciate the opportunity to work for the city, and I appreciate the opportunity I've been given, and look forward to working with everybody, hopefully far into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We know how much work the finance staff has done recently, too, so well-timed and well-deserved, and good luck at your race.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't plan to win, but I will.
That feels like winning a little bit. All right, council members, any disclosures this evening? Okay. All right. Vice Mayor, approval of the consent agenda, please.
Thank you. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, seconded by Gabriel. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Consent agenda has been approved. We'll move on to item 11. Councilmember Newman.
I move to award the contract for the purchase of the new landfill grinder to Vermeer, Colorado in the amount of $642,159.86 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion by Newman, seconded by Gabriel. Welcome, Director Webb.
Good evening. Excuse me, Mayor, Council. The landfill grinder is a new piece of equipment to our stock. We currently do not own a grinder. However, we've had a compost program now for 12 or 13 years. We've either sold or given away over 50 million pounds of compost, which of course extends the life of the landfill. We've historically rented grinders from a couple different companies out of Colorado, and it made a lot of sense because the cost was financially reasonable. Recently, in recent years, the cost of renting any equipment has gone way up, and the grinders have gone up exponentially. In the past, I think 2022, we spent about $35,000 that year to rent the grinder. And this last year, we actually came to you for a budget amendment and ended up spending $76,000 to rent a grinder. So every year during the budget session, we always kind of look at, we've always kind of looked at the grinder and does it make sense for us? And we've gotten to a point to where it makes sense for us. The life of the grinder's 10 to 12 years. So at current rental rates today, you're talking about $760,000 over that 10-year period. That's if the rates don't increase, which we assume they will. We've also used in the past a outside contractor when we had the big storm a few years ago, and we had all that green waste piled up by the softball fields, and the 4th of July was coming, and we needed to get it out of there for the firework guys. We hired an outside company to come in, and they gave us a pretty reasonable cost when they did that. So we called them, and we said, you know, how much for you guys to come in and do this once or twice a year? And at current cost right now, over 10 years, that'd be over $1.2 million to have them do that. So it doesn't make sense pretty simply from a cost perspective. Also, the other bind that we get in when we're renting the machine is we bring it in for a month a year. And a lot of times that month is determined by when the vendor has the availability, not when our staff and our equipment is ready to handle that. So they bring it in, we dedicate 2 staff members and 2 loaders to that for that entire month because we're renting by the day. And then other workloads get shifted because of that. So our efficiencies go down there. The other big thing is if we own our own grinder, we have the ability to grind anytime, when we need to, when we can. Currently, those materials pile up sometimes for a year and a half. We get huge piles. And as you probably recall, 6-7 years ago, we had the fire out there that burned for days and days, and that was after we had materials there for over a year. Huge pile that we had a really hard time controlling. With the landfill grinder owning it, we can keep those piles down because we can grind once a month, we can grind once a week. When as staff and equipment's available, we can keep up on it. So I wanted to give you that background. I know we discussed this a few months ago in our budget work sessions, but I wanted to kind of go back and cover why we're now deciding that a landfill grinder is financially reasonable. We got pricing from 2 different companies for 3 different prices of equipment. Vermeer, Colorado, the HG 4000 grinder was the lowest cost we received at just over $642,000. We've actually operated this grinder before. They brought a demo up last year and let us run it for a week free of charge, which was really nice. And it works great for what we need. So with that, I'll take any questions if you have it.
Thank you, Director Webb. Council members, do you have any questions? Director Webb, is it when we rent, do contractors send staff members along with the grinder, or are they sending those Well, my question, that's not my actual question, I suppose. My question is, do we have the ability to rent this grinder when it's not in use to City of Rollins or somebody like that, maybe?
Mayor, we haven't really discussed that. The state DEQ has actually talked with us about doing a co-op with some other places, because like Rollins probably doesn't get near as much green waste we do. The city of Cheyenne actually owns 2 grinders. City of Casper owns 2 grinders. They're bigger, they have more material there. I'm not sure what Rollins does. It's something we could reach out and talk to them. I know Saratoga uses an outside contractor, so everybody's kind of doing some different stuff. And like I said, we have had conversations with DEQ in the past. They've been trying to get somebody that will kind of go site to site around the state and do it, because the cost is so high, and especially for a lot of the smaller communities, it's a big burden.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, and that's sort of what I was thinking. I thought maybe there could be some sort of cooperation that could happen here that would really help some other folks, because we know those folks are using our landfill anyway in a lot of occasions. So, and does that require staff? If we rent it out, would it require staff from the city of Laramie to sort of like accompany the grinder?
Mayor, I mean, they could staff and equipment it themselves like we do when we operate it. I don't know. I mean, we haven't really looked at that, but I mean, I'm still starting to think about liability and wear and tear and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know that I can answer that tonight.
That's no problem. Thank you. Any other questions, council members? Councilor Shumway, please.
Just a quick question. I know the city has a chipper. Tell me the difference, and you're talking about using the grinder for green waste. What's the difference between a chipper and a grinder?
Yeah, Mayor, the chipper, you can pull with a small pickup truck and will fit in this area. The grinder we're looking at, you pull with a semi truck and it takes up this entire room. The chipper is great for small trees. Maybe they're trimming stuff in the park and they're throwing it in the chipper. They can pull the chipper right up to the park. We're literally dumping bucket loads in this thing from a large bucket loader. So it's the scale, the size, and the speed.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other, Councilor Richardson, please.
Thank you. Will this allow production of the compost to be increased, and are we keeping up with the need for compost of folks who are coming out for it, or will this help with any sort of additional access to compost for other folks, or no?
Yeah, Mayor, through you, we're keeping up with it now. We actually, the last couple of years, we've had a surplus at the end of the season, and that's actually gone out to the ranch on the pivot to help there. So we're kind of working between divisions. But yeah, we're keeping up with what's there, and like I said, we've had a surplus. And this is what this grinder will do, is help us keep up with, as far as keeping those piles low, like I said.
I guess the trees are still the trees no matter what. So,
yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions? All right, we'll turn it over to the public. If there's any member of the public that wishes to speak to this item, go and raise your hand on the Zoom call or come forward in the room. Welcome. State your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Paul Montoya, 1974 Truman. One question I would have would be, I know this is a comparison between renting this piece of equipment versus purchasing it, and it seems in the long run it would be cost effective to purchase it. The question I'd have is that would also require the city to maintain it, carry spare parts and so forth. In the long run, my question would be, would it still be better to rent it just due to not having to maintain the piece of equipment? And the other thing along the lines of your question, Mayor, is would this be something that could be split or in cost with another city like Rollins or Cheyenne, and we share the use, since it sounds like it's something that would not have to be used all the time? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Appreciate you taking time to be here. Any other public comments this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Council members, any comments at this point? Other questions? All right, seeing none. City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll, please.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Somerville, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We will move on to item 12, Vice Mayor Cumby.
I move that council approve the submission of a grant agreement for FAA Airport Infrastructure Grant Project number 03-5-0017-050-2024 for a rotary plow by Laramie Regional Airport in the amount of $910,575 and authorize the mayor and city attorney to sign.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, seconded by Richardson. Director Terrell, welcome.
Mayor Harrington, Council, thank you for having us tonight. What I'd like to present for approval is a rotary plow for the airport. What a rotary plow is it's a great big snow removal machine. Currently, we have a Stuart Stevenson. It's about 30 years old on the airport. My very first inspection at the airport in 21, the inspector came in and said, this needs to go. You need a new plow, and he put it on the end of, he can make recommendations at the end, not requirements. It was a recommendation that we look at getting a new one, just based on the cost of keeping it running. We've held it together for about 3 years. It blows the hydraulic hoses regularly. It has some issues, and it's harder for us to move snow in large amounts. Fortunately, last year we didn't have a terrible winter, so we were able to manage it pretty well. We have some other pieces of equipment that step in and support that. What we're putting in for this year is a new rotary plow. It won't be on the field till next year, so we would not have it this winter if you guys approve this. This rotary plow, what it will do is it'll move 400 tons of snow, or 4,000 tons of snow per hour. What it'll do is it says here it'll throw in excess of 100 feet with 140-degree shooting range. So what that does at an airport is when you're clearing those runways, if we just moving the snow right over to the side or using a plow to push it over the side, we create these berms, which can be dangerous for planes if when they land they should veer off the runway. So this will actually blow the snow out into our safety area so that it won't take so much manpower to keep the sides of the runway clear. So it should cut down on our manpower, one, so the cost of manpower, and two, it really is a much quicker machine. We can move snow quicker. As we're getting charters in, let's say at 2 o'clock, we've got the university flying in a 737. We've got people out there moving it. It's going to throw the snow further out into the safety area so we don't have to worry about it right up on the berms right on the edges of the runway. So this is bill money. This money comes from the FAA. It is for, sorry, let me put my glasses on, about $958,000. The local match to the airport is $19,170. So it is 95% from the FAA, 3% from the state, and 2% locally. So we already have the match money set aside from our CRISA and CARES money. When we had those, we set this money aside anticipating we would get it. So we do have the match money in our account, and we're just here for approval from you, and hope we can get it on the field next year.
Thank you. Council members, questions? Okay. Thank you, Director. We'll turn it over to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this item can go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call, please. Seeing none, I'll close public comment period. Council members, before the vote, any comments? All right. Thank you. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 13. Vice Mayor Cumby again.
I move that council approve the agreement for transfer of entitlements by Laramie Regional Airport in the amount of $1,054,534 and authorize the mayor and city attorney to sign. Second.
Motion by Cumby, seconded by Pierce. Director Terrell again.
Mayor Harrington, Council. What this is a transfer entitlement agreement between the state of Wyoming gets so much bill money in the state, and then the FAA distributes that bill money. It is in the state of Wyoming. We were unable to spend all of our money. For 21, 22, and 23, some of our projects came in bidding much higher than what our engineers priced them at, so we weren't able to do as many projects as we anticipated. Some of the projects that we have on the book have pushed out to the next fiscal year. So we have $1 million that if we don't use it, it is going to expire and nobody in the state of Wyoming gets it. So what the state of Wyoming has done is they set up a transfer agreement between other airports. Riverton is in a position where they can spend that money if we transfer that money over to them. So they would borrow the money from us this fiscal year, we would reach in and get it next fiscal year and bring it right back. We did this, Rock Springs is where we're sending the money. We did this with Riverton in 2020. So this is something that is pretty normal around the state to ensure that we don't lose the money in aviation. So what we're asking is that you approve us transferring the money over to Rock Springs, and then we will go in and get it as we start our SRE project. We have a building that expensive building we're doing next year. We're going to bring that money back in, that entitlement, to cover that. So essentially, we're just borrowing it out so we don't lose the funds in the state.
Questions, council members? Councilor Richardson, please.
Would you mind sharing what the projects were that we weren't able to?
So
the most recent, I don't need all 21, 22, 23. But
the most recent project, we have what we call is an ARF building. It's a firehouse essentially, and we store our SRE building or our SRE equipment in it. We postponed that project. We weren't certain we wanted to do it. We thought we could. It's about $2.8 million. We thought we could do some other projects instead, a better spend of money. To back out of that project, it would cost the airport $160,000, and to move forward with the project, it made more sense. It didn't cost us a fraction of that. So we are going to move forward with that project. We put it on hold while we did some studies to see if there was a better way to spend that money or if that was the best use. That is where we're going to put that money. So this year, that is where we didn't spend the money. We will start to construct that next year. What that'll do is it'll create an extra bay. We can put our secondary fire truck in it, and if we can get the rotary plow on the field, we'll put that in there as well. So it will house 2 large pieces of equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other questions? All right, Amy, we'll turn this over to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on this item, go ahead and come forward in the room. Raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. Seeing no public comment, we'll go ahead and close that comment period and back to the council for comments before the vote. Seeing none, City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll, please.
Pierce.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 14, Councilmember Richardson.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-67, transferring appropriations for the fiscal year 2025-26 biennial budget for the design of the North 3rd Street Water Main Loop project, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by Pierce. Director Webb, please.
Yeah, Mayor, Council. So what we're asking to do here is transfer some funds basically from one project that were unexpended to another project to get that project going. It's a zero net transfer from the water fund, just moving basically from one project to the other. The North 3rd Street Waterline Loop project is currently budgeted, or not budgeted for, sorry, is currently planned for to start design in fiscal year 27. And then construction in fiscal year 28. The design process for this project is going to probably take longer than a year. There may be some property acquisition easements that have to occur because there's a PRV building that needs to be built. It's a little more complex than just putting in a water line. And so what we wanted to do was have that extra time to get that design completed. We're planning on an SRF loan for the construction portion of the project, and that process to do the application and go through that with the Office of State Lands and the State Loan and Investment Board takes about a year in itself. So we're trying to get this design done so that when that fiscal year 28 comes, we're ready to get the construction of the project underway. Otherwise, I think if we start in 27, we're going to be looking at 29 or 30 before we start that construction. So that's what we're asking to do, is transfer unexpended funds from one project to another so that we can get that under design. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Director Webb. Council members, any questions? Okay. Seeing no questions, I'll move to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Back to the council before the vote. Director Webb, thank you for thinking ahead, keeping us on track. All right, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
I appreciate it, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 15. Councilor Somerville, this one is headed to you.
And Mayor, she was having, there were some issues, so she.
Okay.
may need to
Yeah, I
talk.
just see I received a text about that.
You can take it if you
Yeah,
want.
Councilor Gabriel, go ahead and read this one in for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2024-68, authorizing temporary modifications to traffic control within the city transportation system on South 15th Street, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Gabriel, seconded by Richardson. City Manager, please.
Council and Mayor, I assume you'd like a staff introduction?
Please.
Is that okay? Okay. So council, last week I did receive a phone call from Councilor Somerville, and I will speak to this given that maybe she's having some connectivity issues, and invite her expansion of this conversation as we talk about this item tonight. But to give you a little bit of background, the school district did request modifications to traffic control through the process that the city uses for outside entities to make those requests. However, missing from that request was the engineering analysis and design that is required by state law in order to create a body of data to substantiate the need for those changes to the traffic system. So as a stopgap measure, city staff have been working with staff at the school district to put in place a plan for students who will be newly walking to Spring Creek School with the recent closure of Beidel. I think the concern of the district, and I believe this concern was brought to their attention by parents in that neighborhood, was that those students who used to go to Beidel are now going to have to cross 15th Street, which, as we know, is a very busy major arterial roadway within the city's transportation system. So we have been working with the staff there to come up with a plan for a stopgap measure until such time as the district could complete the data analysis necessary to substantiate permanent changes and modifications to traffic control. That entailed the district placing crossing guards, the city and the district collaborating together to establish a formal safe route to school that the district then agreed to publish to the parents and provide education to the parents and families as to the proper and safe paths that students might take when walking from their neighborhood or their home to Spring Creek School. We subsequently learned that there was perhaps some interest in putting in some temporary traffic control measures until the district can create that body of data that's necessary to substantiate permanent changes. And Councilor Somerville requested this resolution be moved on the agenda for you tonight. A couple things I wanted to share with you. So first of all, in working with Public Works and Councilor Somerville last week and the police department, I did ask the police department to go and place our traffic trailer that captures data about traffic speeds. We are grateful to the police department for rolling that down onto South 15th Street on Thursday, and they were able to capture data over a period of, I believe, 6 days. I provided handouts to you that show what that data looks like, and then for Councilor O'Doherty and Councilor Somerville, the city engineer did email these handouts to you prior to the meeting tonight. What they found is that in the period of time, and I circled the areas of time on the data here that would reflect maybe the time that folks are walking to school in the early morning and then leaving school in the afternoon. We do see largely compliance with the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit there. And there was some folks who were exceeding the speed limit, and out of some 600 cars, only one vehicle that well exceeded the speed limit at, I think, 40 miles per hour, but not during those peak travel times to and from the public school when we might see a lot of more pedestrian activity. What I want to point out to you in this data is this is some data we were able to capture on short notice. It's not definitive and really is not the type of data that the traffic engineers would consider robust or substantial enough to substantiate any permanent change to traffic control in this area of town, but it was something that we could offer you tonight to maybe help inform your decision. Limitations of the data that I've handed to you, in my opinion, are one, we gathered these beginning, I think, on Friday last week through Wednesday, or through Tuesday, excuse me, through yesterday. And so we captured weekend data here, so 600, car counts, and many of those occurred on the weekend. The other issue, of course, is we don't have the university fully in session, and so we did have students moving in on Friday. We know that creates an uptick in traffic. We know a lot of our student population living off campus are situated south of 15th Street, or excuse me, south of Spring Creek along 15th Street, but I would venture to say that this is not capturing the full impact of all students being back because classes haven't actually started. So a little bit of data there with some maybe help and maybe some limitations. A couple other things I wanted to tell you that Public Works informed me of this morning so that you can tackle this conversation. What is put forward in the resolution in working with Councilor Somerville is a suggestion for lowering of the speed limit from 30 to 20 mile per hour on 15th Street between Sheridan and Spring Creek Drive, which would make it really similar to school zones. Staff do have concerns about that. Lowering a speed limit in that section of roadway could create a lot of residual problems that we can speculate on but have no data to support. The other thing the resolution would do is it would require the installation of a temporary crosswalk with a rapid flashing beacon at 15th and Steel Street, so about halfway between Spring Creek and the crossing at 15th and Sheridan. A couple things. I was under the impression late last week that our RFBs had been delivered. That is not true. We have not yet received them, unfortunately. We would not be able, if you want us to put the crosswalk there, we would not be able to have that crosswalk installed due to the unavailability of parts for probably 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks after the start of school. We also have preemptively asked for locate of underground infrastructure in that area so we could place signage. We could get the signs up probably mid next week, but the actual crosswalk and the RFBs would be another probably week and a half out. So those are just limitations on available parts. And if you have any other questions, Public Works and the city engineer are here and able to help me answer those questions.
Thank you, City Manager. And I was just curious, just for clarity, the missing parts for the crosswalk are the rapid flash beacons that were missing, not paint.
No, we have paint. Yeah, we definitely have paint.
I just want to be sure I was clear about that.
Thank you.
Councilor Pierce.
Yeah, so just to make sure I'm clear, prior to this resolution, there was an agreement with the school district on policies, procedures that would be put in place to help with the situation of vital closing, right?
Mayor, through you, Councilor Pierce, that is correct. And in your cover sheet, I did include I just pasted the email dialogue that we'd had back and forth with the district about that. Policies and procedures is a good way to put it. Collaboration between us and the district, absent not being in a position where we could place hard changes to the traffic system.
And so they're in agreement of what was originally hashed out.
Yes.
The school district is.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, and I did circle back with him. So we had the policies and procedures, kind of how we would handle this together to educate parents, to create that safe route. Streets and Public Works have been down painting some additional crosswalks that are already warranted and have data to support. So we had agreed on that. And then, of course, there was some further conversation late last week. I circled back with the superintendent of the district and with the transportation official on, I think it was Friday morning. And as of Friday morning, we were all on the same page. And I told them that you guys were working on this resolution and that I would let them know the outcome of your decision tonight.
So is it, if I can keep going, so is it possible that once the school district does the required study by statute, that there could actually be different findings than what this resolution is advocating and doing?
Mayor, through you, absolutely. There could be different recommendations, or it could substantiate what you're doing tonight. We just don't have the data. So we're in that in-between phase where without the district's engineering analysis, our engineers can't vet it and approve it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Somerville, forgive me, I was going to go to you, but I lost the thread. So we're headed to you for your explanation of why you're bringing this.
Mayor, thank you. I appreciate it, and I apologize that I can't have my camera on. I've got a kiddo in my lap that can't be on camera tonight. So just a couple of, Mayor, if I could ask the city manager a clarifying question real quick. Do we have agreement from the school district to man essentially that corridor with crossing guards? Because I know there was talk, and they thought they were going to, and then they said, no, they're not going to. Do we have that agreement from the school district that they're going to go ahead and hire and man that corridor with crossing guards?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Councillor Somerville, as of now, I have nothing in writing to that effect. The conversation that we had on Friday was that the district was mulling that over, and they were taking into consideration concerns around liability. So I don't have a definitive answer, but it has been discussed with them. It's my understanding they were going to review that.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, just this is on the agenda. I got a call from a couple of school board members last week and a couple of parents. My general impression is it's really unfortunate that this conversation is before us now. I wish we would have had this conversation back in May when the decision to close Vital was made. And it's really unfortunate that wasn't had. I don't think that the city staff are at fault. I think the application came from the school district late in the summer, and maybe both sides of the house could have done this a lot better. I put this forward because this is the request from some of the school board members in terms of trying to protect this corridor, at least temporarily, while we get the official things in place. I'm a big supporter of let's do the engineering and let's get it done, but I'm also a parent who realizes that school starts on Monday. 15th Street's a pretty busy street to have elementary kids crossing. And while we do have controlled intersections at Spring Creek and I think 5 or 6 blocks north, I'm also a parent who realizes that elementary kids don't always do what they're supposed to. If they have to walk 5 or 6 blocks out of their way to get a crosswalk, or they'll just hop across the street and play Frogger, and that's not what we need. My concern overwhelmingly, and the concern voiced to me pretty passionately by one of the parents that called, was that it really doesn't matter where the process got messed up, whether the school district could have done better, whether the city could have done better. What we want to avoid is a kid getting hurt. As the parents that were sending their kids to Vital are navigating this new world of having their kids walk to Spring Creek, they're already kind of in turmoil, and we don't need to add to that. But at the end of the day, we need to do whatever we can in our power to make sure a child doesn't get hit. I suppose there are other alternatives to this resolution. We could maybe have some police officers that are stationed in that corridor every morning and every afternoon, kind of providing some incentives for traffic to be very, very careful, and helping direct the kids that are unaccompanied by parents that are walking, and there's a lot of them, to the crosswalks that are a couple of blocks out of their way. I mean, I think we could maybe do some other things, but this is the request that was presented to me by the school board members that called and the parents. They think that this is really necessary. After some conversations last week, there were concerns voiced that, it's 15th Street. And I'll start with the crosswalk, having one mid-block. Again, the reason that I supported putting this in the resolution is because we're talking about K through 5th graders that don't always do what they're supposed to. And having a mid-block crosswalk, I think, is going to help cut down some incidents of kids playing Frogger and crossing 15th in the middle of the road where there's no stop signs and no controlled intersections. The second thing on the reduced speed limit, I heard some concerns about, well, it's a major arterial. We might potentially cause issues elsewhere in the traffic system. I understand that. I hear that. For everybody that drives through school zones all school year, it's not exactly the funnest thing. But we already have school zones all over on major arterials. Reynolds is a school zone basically from 9th Street to 30th Street. We already maintain a school zone on, I think, around 15th and Canby. We already have a school zone on Spring Creek, so I think that that's just a requirement when schools are built and accessible by arterials. I know that 15th Street is about a block and a quarter or so away from Spring Creek, but those kids from the east side of 15th Street are going to have to come over. So I guess I would leave this to council to say it's here at the request of a couple school board members and some parents. And I'm certainly open to any other suggestions. The intent is absolutely for this to be temporary until the engineering can be done. And I know that there was concerns about collecting clean data for the engineering study. I wish that was an option. School starts on Monday. There's not a lot we can do about that. But they do have, I think there is one day we might be able to collect clean data. There's no school on September 27th. That might be a good day. But Mayor, I'll leave this with council for discussion. As a parent, I just reiterate that if a kid gets hurt, and they saw this in Cheyenne 2 years ago, it doesn't matter who was at fault, and I think we have a duty to do whatever we can to make the situation safe until we can get the permanent pieces in place.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilor, City Manager, did you have something to add there, and then I'm headed?
Just one more bit of information, and I think it dovetails under what Councilor Somerville had said. I did ask LPD, and the chief and the sergeant over our school resource officers have agreed they will be doing extra patrol. They will be watching for children, reporting where they're crossing, that sort of thing, and being very mindful of this area. And then I did ask the clerk, since the safe route map has been formalized between the school and the district, to just display this for you to reference perhaps through the conversation. If you like engineering to walk you through it, or Public Works, you can, but you'll see we've gone in where we did have four-way controlled intersections, and that would be the natural and existing place where we would direct pedestrians. We've gone in and made sure that crosswalks are apparent there. If they were faded, they're repainted, and if they weren't there, they are painted newly. So this is the safe route that we've agreed to with the district, and they will push out to the families, and then you'll see on there where the crosswalk is proposed for Steele and 15th.
Thank you. Councilor Newman.
I want to make sure I understood when you were first introducing this. So Section 1, Part A is lowering the speed limit. Did you say that staff recommended not to do that?
Yeah, and I will have to punt to engineering to maybe talk about the reasons for that, but just lowering the speed limit in that small section of roadway on an arterial, right, this isn't a local street, is a concern. While they're coming up here, I'll mention one other thing, which is if we do lower the speed limit there temporarily, when the district's engineers go out to do the analysis, they're going to be somewhat limited because they're going to be measuring a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit versus that current condition, which is 30 miles per hour. And that's what Councilor Somerville was referring to as she was wrapping up her comments. So do you guys want to talk about concern about going to 20 temporarily? Or is it self-apparent? Self-apparent, okay.
Other questions, Councilor? Councilor Newman, do you have other questions? Okay. Councilor Gabriel, go ahead.
And Janine, a question about just clarification. The school district is not providing crossing guards
My understanding as of Friday, Counselor Gabriel, was that as of Friday, they had not determined that they were putting crossing guards anywhere, and specifically on 15th Street. They were still making that decision.
And I appreciate the fact that police department has stepped up and will be patrolling that area, because that was my concern, and it sounds like it's been covered, but I was just curious what the school district was doing.
Right. Could I add one thing to that answer,
Of course,
Mayor?
yeah. Thank you, Counselor.
Brooks, so I knew that the district was considering offering busing to any family that wanted it if their child had to cross 15th, and they were considering that. Brooks just told me when they met with the district Friday afternoon to finalize this, that the district personnel told them that the school district will offer busing to any family who is concerned about their kid making this migration to Spring Creek.
Thanks. Councilor Richardson.
I'm curious if it's a possibility to, in order to move forward with the crosswalk, ask that the school board or require that the district have crossing folks there to assist. Is that a possibility or not necessarily?
I think my answer would be it's certainly up to the council to require whatever you'd want, and then if that's your desire, we'll follow up with them tomorrow.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else for their first time before I go back to Councilor Somerville? Okay, Councilor Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, the reduction in speed limit is only intended to function as a school zone. So just in the morning and in the afternoon, it's not a full-time reduction of that speed limit. So I just want to make sure that the council is clear on that. That is not my intent if that's how the resolution is being read. It's just supposed to be during the, I think, what is it, 7:30 to 8:15 and 2:45 to 3:30? I think. I'm trying to remember the signs that we use everywhere else. And then on the conversation of busing, I guess I'm concerned because I'm less clear on that. When I spoke with Transit this morning, they said that they are not planning to do that. They're not offering busing to Spring Creek students because they don't have the personnel. They are down like 9 or 10 bus drivers and did not have the personnel to be able to do that. In fact, they were doubling and tripling routes for standard routes. So they're giving one bus driver 2 or 3 routes to go pick up in the morning because they don't have the personnel. So City Manager, I apologize. That's what I got this morning.
Thank you, Councilor Somerville. Sounds like we're all chasing our tails a little bit on this one. Okay. Councilor Pierce?
So this evening, we have no one from the school board, the school district's transportation folks. Nobody is here from School District 1.
We're not sure if there might be someone online. Excuse me, we're not sure if there may be someone online. But I don't
Certainly
see
not a
anyone
school
in the
board
room.
member. All right. Yeah, councilors, I'm not really sure how to handle all of this one, but I mean, I have some opinions, but I can do nothing with them. So,
I have
Councilor Richardson.
another question that's going to be super dumb because I don't know anything about the flashy things. And I don't even remember what the acronym is for them. So the RFB, is it the lights that we can't get, like the parts itself, or is it the full signed thing?
Thank you, Councilor.
All
Director Webb.
technical terms.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a good question.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, when we order them as, it's a full assembly.
Okay.
So it's the whole thing. It's the pole, it's the sign, it's the flashing lights, it's the buttons that you push. We have 7 on order, and we're just waiting for them to come in. They've been on order. Shane, our street manager, called today, and they said they're a couple weeks out.
Great, thank you.
Director Webb, before you sit down, do we have the more traditional crosswalk signs available?
We do, but I'd probably let Eric talk to it, but I don't know that we would at all recommend putting a mid-block crosswalk on an arterial street without some flashing beacons.
I wondered about maybe I'm incorrect about, like, Councilor Somerville mentioned mid-block, but if it's at a corner, so is it mid-block? Because in our resolution, we have Steel and 15th, and maybe this is like a semantics thing I
You're
don't
right.
understand.
It's not necessarily mid-block. It would be at the corner of 15th and Steel.
Yeah.
So at the corner, I guess
But in an
I'm saying mid
unsignalized
kind of corridor, mid between the signalized intersections.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. I wanted to be sure I understood. Councilor
Okay,
Richardson.
sorry, one more question, and again, probably not the smartest thing, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Vital doesn't use theirs anymore. How hard would it be to dig that sucker up and put it in over on the other street?
Yeah. Mayor, through you. So the Vital does have school zone flashers, not rapid flash beacons, two different things. So we would repurpose those. That's our plan. Those are coming out anyway. So those would be repurposed. The rapid flash beacons are addition to that Vital does not have right now. There is one over by Vital. I think it's on Spring Creek and 17th. We're going to leave that one in place because there's still a lot of pedestrians across there. So we need a new rapid flash beacon, but the school zone signs around Vital would be repurposed.
And Director Webb, there is one at Sheridan and 18th, because I use it every day walking my kids to school. And so I appreciate it there because I use it every day, but that might be the one that Councilor Richardson is talking about, not on Spring Creek, one at
The Sheridan one, Sheridan 18th one is what I was thinking of.
They put a bunch out last year. I'm having a hard time keeping track.
And like I said, I like it and kind of want
they're
it to
great.
stay, but
No, they're
also can see the value of it, maybe a higher value somewhere else.
Yeah, and like Janine was saying earlier, the as far as placing the signs, we've got to call in those locates, and locates take up to 48 hours. Weekends don't count. So we wouldn't be able to place those signs until Monday at the absolute earliest. Tuesday is probably more realistic. And then again, the rapid flash beacons, a couple weeks out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is the turnaround? This might be for you, Director Webb. Sorry, I keep sending you halfway back. What's the turnaround for the study portion of this from the school district? I might have missed that earlier, but if they complete the engineering studies that are required, what's their timeline?
Yeah, do you have any idea how long that can take?
Ballpark is fine. I'm just looking to get an idea.
Yeah, Mayor, city engineers saying once they get a firm hired, a couple weeks. And we do know they're working with a firm. That firm reached out to the city engineer today to talk to him about the scope and make sure they got what we need in there. So we know they're working with a firm, and once they get them going, a few weeks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, council members? Councilor Pierce, I can tell that you're about there.
No, it's going to be a comment.
Okay, we're going to hang on to that for a second, just in case there's more questions. Okay. I don't have any idea where the council's headed with this. I'd love to see it in two parts if we are going to move forward with it, but it's just my opinion, and I don't matter in this conversation. All right. Okay, we're going to go to the public then. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this? And extra points for anyone from the school district that wants to talk about this request. Go ahead and let Eric into the room. And Eric, once you're in, you'll have 3 minutes. We do need your full name and your camera on, please. Hello, Mr. Milliken.
Hello. Yes, my name's Eric Milliken. I'm a traffic engineer. I live here in Laramie. I was contacted by the school district. I have talked to Eric Japp, city engineer Eric Japp, about scope for this project. I just had a couple of comments moving forward concerning this particular agenda item. Hold on, let me pull them up over here. Based on the speed study that City Manager Janine presented in the 2014 citywide speed study, there's been no changes in the speed of vehicles on this corridor. It's mostly compliant, 30 miles an hour. Lowering it to a school, even for a temporary school zone, 20 miles an hour. This far away from the school zone, you're going to have compliance issues unless you have a police officer stationed there in full view all the time. You're going to have compliance issues this far away. There's going to be people being pulled over saying, where's the school? Where's the children? If there's no children around. So that's one of the complications with the 20 miles 20-mile-an-hour school zone. If the goal is to traffic calm, then you're going to need to look at more traffic calming items like reducing lane widths or putting in some sort of friction on the side in order to reduce that vehicle speed. I also wanted to talk about RRFB crossings here. RRFBs may be overkill, especially for a school crossing. With RRFBs, the primary purpose of that, from a traffic engineering perspective, is for high-speed roadways, high-use pedestrian areas, and and wide roads where the pedestrians need a long time to get across. The RRFB gives time for vehicles to slow down and stop, and gives the pedestrians time to look and make sure the vehicles are stopping, and then they cross. If there's an RRFB there, vehicles are going to expect the RRFB to be on if there's a pedestrian crossing, and if a child forgets to press it and starts to go across, the vehicle might not realize there's somebody crossing. Let's see here. I'd recommend waiting for the study just to see what exactly should be put in there. I mean, I don't have the data either yet, but I would, if you insist on putting something in there, I would hold off on the RRFB. I would put in, I would hold off on a 20-mile-an-hour school zone, and I would recommend putting in a crosswalk with school zone specific crossing signs like S1-1. That's not the typical yellow pedestrian crossing sign. It's like a fluorescent green school zone crossing sign. It's a little more bright, a little more active as a sign, if the sign can be active. But that's what I would recommend. If you insist on putting something in right now, that would be the treatment I would recommend. That's my time.
Thank you, Mr. Milliken. All right. Thank you, Mr. Milliken. Appreciate you taking time to be here. Any other members of the public wishing to speak to the council on this item? One last plea for school district folks. All right. Okay, council members, line up your comments. Councilor Pierce first.
It seems to me that we have a commitment from LPD to kind of help out in that area for a couple weeks. So I heard that correctly? Yeah. So given Eric's comments, and I'm going to have a hard time supporting this, although I certainly understand the passion behind it. It's just a little bit tough to move on this without any data.
Thank you, Councilor. Vice Mayor.
I live adjacent to 15th Street, and I know that the morning time when they're walking is particularly heavy. When it's heavy traffic like that and it actually backs up for a block and a half, because everybody's getting to work, it is rather slower. But one of my concerns is there's parking on both sides of the road, and we last year changed the yellow no parking areas. We extended that at the corners because it's so difficult to get out from one of the side streets onto 15th. And that has helped, but it's still difficult on that street to get out. So usually I do a U-turn and go around the other way. It's difficult to cross. So I do have concerns about it, and I just look at compromise. If I can understand that the school board is trying to save money, that there is a considerable amount of debt there, and they possibly are concerned about hiring a crossing guard full-time, but I would feel more comfortable if they did it until the study were completed and we had a better idea about what we need, that we kind of look at where can we lower the risks. And would that be that during those, it's my understanding they don't even have the study commissioned at this point in time. So by the time they find somebody and it takes a few weeks, we're probably looking at a month at least. And anyway, I just wonder if there's some sort of compromise, and I'm a little concerned that we're getting so much mixed information too. We'll pick them up in a bus. No, we won't pick them up in a bus. Maybe we'll do cross guards. No, we won't. And so I'd like to have some more firm answers, and it's getting kind of down to the wire for Monday. But I do have concerns for the safety, and it would be nice to cover it for those first few weeks, just to see how it's going, to have observers. And I think in the emails that we passed around, I wondered if this would be something where we could put out for volunteers and parents that would just be there. But I think we need something beside nothing. So,
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilor Newman? Councilor Richardson, did you have a comment? I'm going to come to you and then Councilor Newman.
Sure. So first, I would like to see this broken into two. One being discussion separately of the speed limit, and then the second discussion of a crosswalk. And so I will plan to make that motion, but I feel similarly. I think for me, holding off on the speed changes until we have a better understanding makes sense, and it is a ways away from the school, and understanding kind of slowing that arterial road down. But I would like to see a crosswalk there, and I would like to require the district to make sure that someone is there, because this needs to be, no pun intended, a two-way street in all parties kind of moving forward to make sure that our kids are safe.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Newman?
Did the city staff, did the district know that we were going to talk about this today?
Mayor, when I spoke with them on Friday, I did tell them that Councilor Somerville had requested this resolution, and we were adding it to this agenda.
I have a comment now, is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
I also have frustration that they're not here when they have buy-in, and I have a real problem with miscommunication as well. One person says one thing, one says another. I guess I will wait because I kind of like sweating these up too, so.
Thanks. Other comments? Councilor Shumway, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also am concerned that this is coming to us very late. It hasn't gone through the Traffic Safety Commission. We've had 4 months since they closed Bidle. I'm sure there's a savings by closing Bidle. It's curious to me that they're not willing to provide crossing guards, that they're not willing to bus, they're not willing to communicate in a reasonable time so that we can deal with this properly. I think everyone on this council wants to make sure that we provide every possible way for safety for these school-aged children. And this is a hard decision, but what I've heard is that the city is stepping forward. We're doing temporary signage, we're having police presence, and we're working on getting a permanent solution to this. But I regret that it's the last minute solution coming to the council. Even this is not common for us to have this almost a walk-on to the city council when we haven't had a chance to really find reasonable solutions by talking to our constituents. I'm going to vote no on this because I think we have adequate, even though it's not comprehensive, but we have adequate safety in mind, and I hope we can get to the bottom of this quickly and do what should have been done 4 months ago.
Thank you, council member. All right. Any other, Councilor Newman?
I have a motion.
Please.
My motion would to remove section 1, part A, and just leave B. So getting rid of changing the school, the speed limit.
So your motion is to strike section 1, part A.
Correct.
Second.
Okay, motion by Newman, seconded by Vice Mayor Cumby. Council members, please.
Just to make a quick
I'd love it. Love it.
We've heard from city staff and from somebody who the school district has hired or at least talked to for this. They all seem to agree that this would probably be not the safest thing for that area. I would like Councilor Shumway said, I think we're all in agreement that the students need to be safe, but if I have two people who are experts more than me, I kind of should probably listen to them more.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Somerville?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate, I think, where this may be going, and if the council approves the crosswalk, I think that's at least a partial step in the right direction. But removing this speed zone, I just remind the council, we maintain a speed zone already on Canby Street, or sorry, 15th and Canby. It's on an arterial. I don't know how often everybody else drives through there, but I don't see a whole lot of people crossing up there, especially with the change in schools up there, but we continue to maintain that. I'm hesitant to not do something temporarily that might provide some safety because we're worried about, what inconveniencing some drivers. Just a reminder, this is a K-5 school. We're talking about 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and getting hit by a car at 30 miles an hour. That's not something you just get up and walk away from, especially when you're young. The city has had this application since July 9th, and I understand that the district didn't turn in everything that they wanted to, but again, I feel pressure as a city council member to step in and provide whatever temporary measures we can just to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to create a safe zone reasonably while we sort out the details. So I guess I would ask the council to look at the reduction. Again, it's just the school speed zone. It's 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes in the afternoon as a measure that we probably need to do, again, to try to make sure that none of these kids get hit. I do know somebody that was hit on 15th Street because they were a pedestrian crossing the street and a car turned left from 15th and took them right out. It happens. And I don't know that the police presence there, I appreciate extra patrols, but unless we're going to actually station a couple of squad cars in that corridor for those times, that seems like an awful lot of police time to be taken up to actually, I think, get the effect that the council wants. So, again, I don't think that any of the agencies have done a really great job here, and we're just trying to clean it up.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Richardson, please.
I actually have another question, if that's possible.
Just on the amendment, yeah.
Yeah, can the engineers remind me, this is about that 30 to 20 mile per hour, remind us, is this, you're not recommending it because it's not safe, or you're not recommending it because people won't comply? I don't recall what the discussion was, if you could remind me.
Thank you, Counselor.
Honorable Mayor, through you, really both parts. Lowering that speed limit, as Mr. Milliken noted, can cause an unsafe condition as well if it's not fully needed in there and everything. So it's kind of for both reasons. But one of the big reasons is for the delay where people will get put. Also, it is, if you look at state statute, changing a speed limit does need an engineering study is the interpretation of that as well.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else on the amendment? Councilor Gabriel, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I think anytime you slow somebody down, you have a speed limitation. I think it's a good thing, even if they don't comply. But I think the majority of people would. So I think Councilor Somerville has persuaded me that this is a good thing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other councilors with questions, comments? Okay, we're going to go to the public on the amendment. So the amendment is to remove section 1, part A, which is the speed reduction and school zone. Any member of the public wish to speak to that? Come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, back to the council. Before we go to the vote, just to be clear, a yes vote removes it, a no vote maintains the original ordinance. All right, City Clerk, resolution. I think I said ordinance. City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
Gabriel.
No.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
No.
Shumway.
No.
Somerville.
No.
Cumby.
No.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 3 yeses, 5 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That amendment has failed. Back to the council. Anything else you want to do with this before we spend more time on it? Okay. Seeing none, we've already gone to the public on it, I believe. So I'm going to go to, is that correct, City Clerk? Do you know?
We have gone to the public,
Thank
Mayor.
you. Thought I better check. All right. Councilors, any comments? Okay. City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
No.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
No.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
No.
That's 5 yeses, 3 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
All right, City Clerk, that item has been approved. We'll move on then to item 16, Councilor Newman.
I move to approve on second reading original ordinance number 2087, amending section 6.16.015 of the municipal code relating to post-conviction sentencing for vicious animals in the city.
Motion by Newman, seconded by Pierce. Salsamaski, welcome.
Hello, welcome Honorable Mayor, Council. You'll recall from last time, essentially this amendment is to make it consistent where any animal that has been adjudicated vicious in Laramie Municipal Court can have the same post-conviction sentencing to ensure the safety of the public. So it's really just changing from where it says dog throughout for animal. I did note an error on the cover sheet where subsection H is missing. It's in the background information. Generally the time frame of 30 days for the court, for a defendant to have to comply with the conditions. Pretty consistent in court that that's what the judge is ordering, and so it just kind of clarifies it, makes it consistent in code so that any defendant is aware when they're coming in with this of what the time frame for compliance will be. So I will make sure that that is updated for third reading. And Animal Control Officer Bingham is here again if the council came up with any additional questions. I'm happy to answer, and I'm happy to have her join me as well.
Councilors, any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. All right, we'll go to the public for this. Any members of the public wishing to speak to the council can come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, councilors, any comments before the vote? Okay, City Clerk, please call the roll on second reading.
Newman.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We will move on to item 17. Councilmember Richardson, please.
Thank you. I move to approve on first reading original ordinance number 2088, amending chapter 10.36 of the Laramie Municipal Code to regulate parking rates and implement vehicle immobilization in the city of Laramie.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, seconded by Gabriel. Chief, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This is in direct relation to the work session we had about a month ago, a little over a month ago, regarding parking issues, primarily downtown, but all over the city. This ordinance update would have an impact. So the major impacts of this ordinance can be found on pages 12 and 15. And there's two primary ones. One is raising the fine increase, and I believe we had several community members that night, specifically from the downtown area, that were also in support of this measure. And what we're asking tonight is for the council to consider raising our $10 parking fees primarily to $40, which would impact the overtime parking downtown. For the overtime parking downtown specifically, the first violation would be an escalator clause. The first violation would be $40 in a 12-month time period. The second violation would be an $80 violation, and the third would be $120, and every subsequent violation after that would also be $120 for that 12-month period. The other ones that we are also asking to increase, the primary one is the residential parking from $50 to $75. And the primary reason for that is our primary call for service response in the parking area. We still have a significant parking area, primarily near, or parking issue primarily near the university area. I believe last year we had over 1,500 citations issued just for that one violation in that area. And this year we're on track to cite over, I believe we're in the ballpark of 3,000 by the time the year is over. So for the purpose of correcting behavior or changing behavior, we're hoping that we'll have more of an impact at a $75 fine rate than a $50 rate. I actually had an opportunity to speak with a staff member at the university today who said that it's pretty common amongst the staff to know that even if they got 3 or 4 tickets in a year, it's still cheaper than a parking pass at the university or a parking permit at the university. And then all of our other $10 fines would be increased to $40. So I reached out to some of our partners to see what they're doing. Cheyenne, their overtime parking issue or current fine is $30. They are looking at increasing their parking fines across the board. They anticipate bringing that to their council here in the next 12 months. And they also indicated that overtime parking issues in their downtown area is not a significant issue. And they believe that the major cause for it not being a significant issue is their parking structure and their permitted parking. I believe it's $50 a month they can pay to get a permit to park there full time. It solves that issue, which we don't have an option for. And then Casper, they charge $100 for violations of any of their various parking limits. And it's a specific parking violation. And then the second part of the ordinance is what we spoke about with the immobilization device, referring to a boot or barnacle solution in lieu of issuing warrants for arrest. That would be after the 5th citation. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chief Brown. Questions, council members? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Chief. We'll go.
Thank you.
We're going to go to the public on this, and I have Billy Eckert first. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. I'm here tonight to talk about being a downtown business owner, so I'm only applying, I don't have a knowledge of the other areas, so downtown is only what I'm referring to tonight. Parking downtown has always been a quandary, we all know this. How do we solve this problem? Who knows? But I do think that raising the parking fines works great for people who continuously park there every day. So for employees or other business owners that park on the street fronts, then that's going to deter them. That's great. That's a win. However, if we have customers that come and shop and they come downtown, we've finally gotten people downtown and they get out to shop and they're enjoying themselves because we have a great downtown, and they're there for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. They come back to their car and now they have a $40 fine. If we've finally gotten these people up from Fort Collins or Loveland or wherever, Cheyenne comes over here a lot too. If they get a ticket, a $40 ticket, how much do we think they're going to come back? I mean, we're winning here, we're losing there, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I think that it's time. We've all talked about a parking garage. It's time that we start figuring out how we're going to start saving up, finding the land, buying the land, and doing a parking garage that could help solve a lot of these problems downtown. And I don't have the answers to all of that. I'm just speaking out as a downtown business owner that, yes, we agree it's a problem, but how do we fix it? I don't know that raising our rates up to $40 will help us downtown as far as business. It's going to hurt us. And so there's also the snow removal zone, 2 to 6 a.m. in the morning. My guess of my VRBOs have had those tickets, $50 tickets, in July. In July. many times in June, July in a snow removal zone. That doesn't make any sense other than I get to thinking, well, it's probably they make more money at a $50 ticket. So they have people, extra people between 2 and 6 a.m. and they come down and give these tickets. But it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't make us feel like a really welcoming place to be. So I don't have the answers. I would just like to speak out and say, hey, can we start thinking about maybe a parking garage, what it takes to get the land in order to move forward with this and help solve more than one problem. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to be here. Other members of the public that wish to speak to the council on this, go ahead and come forward. Welcome. We'll just need your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilwomen, and Councilmen. My name is Stephanie Carter, and I'm a resident of Laramie, Wyoming. I have been for 57 years. I was raised here, married, raised children, as well as grandchildren. I'm a business owner downtown Laramie, and I own, and this is plural, buildings downtown Laramie. I'm a resident currently downtown, and I oppose the $40 and up of parking. It's kind of a disappointment being a building owner, and again, I say plural. When it is a good year, I employ at least 12 employees. Blessed to employ, and that does not include myself. Throughout the years, and I have been in business since 1990, you do the math, I believe that's 34 years, I've stopped counting. Throughout the years, it's happy parking. For me, throughout the years, it has been frustrating parking. I have had threatening notes, not only for my employees, but I have had notes on my vehicles. I become one of many hats, including tears from young high school students that I employ to college employees and so on and so forth. I have also had mailed letters to myself, to me, stating that they were going to bash in my windows if I continued to park in front of their establishment. As of recent, when there were times of a new building happening on 2nd Street, and may I add, I am physically in 301, 303, 307, and 309 South 2nd. I am the owner of Pine Beach and the Knothole downtown Laramie. I have parked in front of someone else's building, and that person, the business owner, has run out, and I don't even have a foot on the ground from being in Cheyenne, taking care of a couple of parents who are ill. And she has asked me to move, but it is okay for her to park in front of my building. And that is just within the summer. Indeed, we've got a problem. May I continue?
Wrap up your comments, please, yeah.
I ask that you consider different things for downtown Laramie. That this includes more patrol on a regular basis. And when us as residents of the downtown and property owners call dispatch, that you listen to our concerns. Thank you respectfully.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Thank you for taking time to be here. Any other members of the public wishing to speak to the council? Come on forward. I just need your name for the record. It's good to see you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Hansen. I own the chocolate cellar, and I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I really want to. I just want to tell you that I'm in full support of this. I'm in full support of it to get the employees and the business owners off of the street so that the customers actually have a place to park. I can stand outside if you want to. You know, we have a lot of customers that come from Fort Collins, Cheyenne, everywhere. But they look at those signs and they respect the 2-hour parking because they don't know that they're not going to get a ticket. And I've got a lot to say, but like I said, I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I just want you to know I'm in full support.
Thank you for taking time to be here. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak to the council on this item? Please, Mr. Montoya.
Paul Montoya, 1974 Truman, Mayor, City Council. I brought this up at the work session, but I thought I should try to get this officially on the record. Whereas I really do support the enforcement of parking downtown, and I'm glad that Chief Brown has made a commitment to do that. I think it's something that needs to be done because there are people that park for long periods of time that shouldn't. I do take issue with quadrupling the amount for the downtown parking. I think it could really discourage people, especially local people, from coming downtown. And what I would recommend, as I did in the work session, is to maybe begin at a lower rate, maybe something closer to $20 or $30, maybe like what Cheyenne does at $30, and if it's paid within 15 days, it's actually reduced to $20, and see how that works. If that's effective, I hope we're not trying to raise money by making it $40. I hope this isn't a tax on our residents. If it's just a deterrent, maybe we could start at a lower amount, see how well that works. If it doesn't work, then go up to this amount. That'd be my recommendation. Thank you.
Mr. Montoya. Other members of the public wish to speak to this item? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Back to the council for any comments before we go to the vote on first reading.
What comment?
Please, Councilor Richardson.
Just kind of to some of the folks' thoughts on this. I think part of the issue that we had heard is that the current price isn't a deterrent, and you could park and park and park and park and park and still not really have an impact. And so from my perspective, raising it substantially then does have that impact. And perhaps when this is first implemented, there's some warnings that go out first as people are getting used to it. That would be where I stand.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Other comments, council members? Vice Mayor, please.
Well, I kind of have a question. I
That's okay.
Clarified. This might be for the city manager. I'm just wondering about surveillance of the free parking lots and how full do they stay? Are they ever so full there's not a parking space? I know the one on First is in demand, but I'm just wondering about the free parking. How much is that utilized?
Mayor and council, I don't know that we have conducted a robust and thorough long enough term study of that. I will mention that a few years ago, the City Public Works Engineering folks spent a lot of time down there looking at utilization of the off-street parking lots. I don't know, Eric, if you recall or want to address that tonight, but we do have a bit of data, but probably not robust enough data. And unless Eric wants to fill in, I think I'll leave it at that. Nope.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And then my second question is, we are trying to encourage downtown residential occupancy, potential development of second floor, third floor, et cetera. And we right now don't, if these potential apartments or living spaces downtown do not have parking, we do not have a parking permit process that would allow residents of downtown to be able to park in the city parking lots overnight, et cetera, and I think that would be an important component of this, that to just enact raising the fees without addressing individuals who live and work downtown and their long-term needs, that we need to look at that as well.
Mayor, through you, we have encouraged, and I know Main Street has encouraged as well, residents to park in the outlying off-street parking lots, and they can park there overnight. We do, as the owner, I say that because we're leasing those spaces from the railroad, but we do manage the parking lots. We do go in periodically and ask vehicles that have been there for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months on end, like there's weeds growing up out of the pavement by the tire. We do have to go through periodically in those lots because we will see them turn into storage, vehicle storage, trailer storage, camper storage. So we do go through periodically and work with the police department to tag those and have people remove those. But residents can park overnight in those lots, just not for weeks and months on end. The other thing I will mention is I have talked a couple times with one of our downtown landlords about potentially creating some sort of permit program using lots maybe further outside of the downtown, notably the city's lot at 4th and University, where we could create some sort of permit system where residents living downtown could park there for long periods of time if they're not going to use the car for 4 or 5 days. Nothing has come of that. And I actually reached out recently to Main Street to see if they have a comprehensive list of landlords downtown, because while the conversation with the individual person didn't bear fruit, I thought maybe pulling a focus group together of what landlords we know of downtown to have a bigger conversation might help us gain more traction, I guess, around some form of permit system. What I would caution the council about, while I think we welcome overnight parking in the lots and maybe for a few days on end, we certainly don't want to create off-street free storage, and that is a trend that we do see, particularly in the First and University lot and the ones down by the depot. So we would have to balance those needs, but yeah, there's certainly potential there.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilor Richardson, please.
Just a comment that I would like to see the city kind of pursue that endeavor of working with folks who have residences downtown to see about some sort of at least better solution than what we've got.
Thank you, Councilor. Other comments, council members? Councilor Newman, please.
I do like if it's paid within X amount of time, maybe on the first or second violation, that we do give them some sort of, incentive to pay it faster and not do it again. And I would make a motion, but I have a huge headache today, so I'm going to do it on second reading.
Thank you, Councilor. Yeah.
That will be coming, but
okay.
My head is pounding. So I'm not going to do it tonight.
Well, sorry we've made this meeting so long for you. Yeah, I would ask councilors to bring them on second reading anyway, so give staff a time to help you sort them out. Okay, other comments? All right. I would just add, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
I just, Ms. Carter's comment about the hostility, we heard that at the work session, and we heard people that both support this and oppose this talk about hostile repercussions, and that really concerns me when one owner against another owner, and I find that very concerning. And so possibly back to some sort of accommodation for owners, employees, and residents. And it may be time for us to actively study a parking deck. Where would we put it? How much would it cost? How much is it supported? And to just expand that possibility so that there's the potential for residential expansion in the downtown, because we have a lot of potential lovely spaces that are not used. So it's just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Newman.
Oh, I'm gonna vote no, just, I wanted to say why, just because
Please.
I have I am gonna try to bring something to change it a little bit, is the only reason why I'm gonna vote no today.
You got it. All right. I would just add that we have, I've been on the council for 6 years now, and we have steadily made little bits of progress here and there, added a spot, added a handful of spots, and it does not feel to me like the folks who work downtown feel like it is any better. And so to me, this feels like a step worth trying. Because we have to continue to work on it. And I think we heard that in our work session, that there is a continued need. And if, we have some space at sort of like 2nd and Clark where the viaduct came down, but that didn't feel sufficient because of its distance. And so I just, for lack of better options, this seems like a good place to start. $10 is just not enough money to be a deterrent. And so I support this. I'll be interested to hear your amendments, council member. All right. City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll on first reading.
Gabriel, absent. Newman.
No.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 6 yeses, 1 no, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Great. Thank you, City Clerk. We're going to go ahead and take a quick 5 minutes before we get back into it, folks. So we are recessed until 8:15.
Does any city staff have like Tylenol?
I was just gonna ask you, come with us.
I do.
Oh, you got some right there. Yeah.
I keep it in my court bag.
folks, we're back. Just waiting for the on-air light. Oh, I guess we're back on the screen. I'm gonna just hope we're on air. Thank you, Chris. All right, item 18, Vice Mayor Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2089 on first reading, amending the City of Laramie's official zoning map, establishing the ROB overlay zone for a city-owned property zoned B2 located east of 4th Street, north of Shield Street, and south of Canby Street, in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, seconded by Pierce. Director Taney, welcome.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, good evening. This item is a request by the City of Laramie to establish the ROB, which is the Residence Over Business Zoning District, over a property that we all commonly know as the former Public Works facility located on 4th Street. As you all, I believe, know, our Public Works facility is no longer located at that location and is vacant. That property, as we've discussed in meetings prior to this, has been visioned and focused on as a place for future redevelopment by the city in cooperation with a development firm for housing and commercial space. Years ago, we did some visioning. We did a plan for 4th Street. Following that, we have had other conversations about how that area could be best utilized to not only improve the property that we're talking about here, but also just catalyze development in that North 4th Street corridor. What you have before you today is a request, like I said, to establish the ROB overlay zone over the existing zoning district there on that property, which currently is already zoned B2. The B2 zoning district does permit multifamily zoning district or multifamily uses as a conditional use permit. The ROB overlay zoning district, if it was to be approved, will permit that use by right. During our discussions with Northwest Real Estate Group, which is the group that the City of Laramie has selected for future redevelopment of that site, they believe, and we agree with them, that establishing the ROB overlay zone and making multifamily development a straight permitted use, so by right use at that location, not only aids them in their processes, so shortens approval processes and permitting processes, but also is helpful in applications for WCDA, as well as other potential funding sources that they may look at. Aside from that desire to kind of achieve the vision that we see for this property, when you do look in code, the residential overlay really is kind of established, and this is actually a prime location for something like this. What we have is multifamily zoning located to the east of this property and commercial zoning located to the west. That transition area recognizes, and as it says in here, it is intended to blend the underlying B1, B2, C2, and DC standards in those cities' high-intensity residential-based zoning districts, namely the R3 zoning district. And so when you read kind of this intent and the idea, which it says in this section too, is to allow both current development of this type as well as situations that allow limited new development as deemed appropriate, as well as the mixture of the residential uses and business uses. Really what we're doing is we're providing both options on this property for both residential and commercial development. When we look at some of the just kind of guiding documents, as I mentioned, and as some of you were part of and may remember, we did complete the North 4th Street plan, which did show kind of this couple different versions of mixed-use development at this location. We note that in the Thrive Laramie Community and Economic Development Plan, one, housing is noted as an important factor in promoting economic development, but two, also that creating additional commercial space, which in a mixed-use environment, which this would allow, is also desired through that economic plan. I won't go over these, but as many of you have heard, and you've heard from me many times and from our office, we have multiple housing plans, not only at the state level, the county level, and at our local level, that just emphasize the need for housing. The more we can do to open up housing options really is important, not only in this area, but potentially other areas as we make considerations like this. And so support from all those documents are there. And then comprehensive plan is also supporting this type of use in this location. And so with that, staff doesn't look at this actually as very complicated. And as you'll see in the staff report, it isn't super drawn out, but we do believe that it really provides just an additional layer of opportunity on this property to achieve not only the vision of the 4th Street plan, but also helping our potential public-private partners here in redevelopment of this site. And so with that, I just want to note that with like all rezoning requests, we've posted signs on the property. We've done mailed notice to all property owners within 300 feet, as well as published in the newspaper for both Planning Commission and City Council public hearings. Your public hearing will be at your next meeting. And with that, we had received no public comments related to this request. So I'd be happy to take any questions related to the rezoning.
Thank you, Director Taney. Vice Mayor.
Director Taney, it's my recollection from the Planning Commission meeting when they reviewed this proposal that they voted in favor unanimously. Is that correct, I think?
Mayor, Council, yes. If you look in your cover sheet, I think I included the actual votes down there at the bottom.
I was looking and I
nope,
just...
That's all right, but you recall correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director.
Yeah, 7-0.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, council members? All right. We'll go to the public on this. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call, please. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Council, before the vote. All right. Vice Mayor, please.
Sorry. Director Taney, I just want to say I appreciate the proactive approach, and in many of the housing groups that we're participating in and the alliances that are being formed and meeting, the issue of streamlining the zoning process and the permitting process, et cetera, is a key piece of those conversations. So I appreciate your proactive approach to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other council members? All right, City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll on first reading.
Gabriel, absent. Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved on first reading. We'll move on to item 19, Councilmember Pierce.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2090, amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 15.16 regarding narrower pavement widths for existing alleyways at the final plat as recommended by Planning Commission on first reading in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
Motion by Pierce, second by Richardson. Mr. Gavatuller, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of council. The ordinance before you this evening has to do with amending the code section requiring the pavement of alleyways for certain types of developments, generally developments that require site plan, anything residential 4 units and up, as well as anything commercial would require the developer to pave the alleyway. This amendment to code would allow for for the alleyways to be paved in a manner that wouldn't require any encroachment on private property, so to allow the developer to work entirely within the right-of-way in alleyways. So we definitely see it as a benefit to the development community, not having to go to private property owners asking for those construction easements and all that goes along with that. The amendment was proposed by Coffey Engineering. Mr. Coffey, the applicant, is actually with us this evening. I'll invite you, Honorable Mayor, to invite him up for any additional input on this and how this came about. But as staff, we do recommend that council consider this favorably and approve it on first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Cavatuller. Mr. Coffey, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. All right, council members, any questions at this point? All right. We'll go to the public on this item. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, go ahead and come forward in the room. Okay, seeing none. Council members, anything before the vote? Councilor Pierce, do you have anything? Okay. All right, on first reading, City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll, please.
Gabriel, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item's been approved on first reading. We'll go on to item 20. Councilmember Pierce.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance 2091, amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 13, requirement of water sewer connections at the final plating stage or phase as recommended by Planning Commission on first reading in accordance with findings of fact and conclusion of law.
Is there a second? Motion by Pierce, second by Richardson. Mr. Cavatuller.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, this amendment, similarly to the first, was brought about by the applicant, Coffey Engineering, in an attempt to make development more business friendly, so to speak, in easier, less regulatory hurdles. So the amendment to section 13.28.20 revises the sewer connection requirements, allowing non-residential zone lots to be platted without immediate sewer service installation, reducing unnecessary costs and streamlining development. Similarly to 13.08.30, same thing except for water service installation. Really what this means is currently we require that each platted lot has a sewer and water connection to it from the main distribution line running adjacent to the property. What happens sometimes is the site isn't exactly configured in a way that the future development may see it as, like where the building may be placed in a different part of the lot than where the sewer and water connection is. So really this future changes would require the streets to be cut and repaved, and that is a maintenance concern to Public Works because it affects the strength of the road and so forth. So really this is just allowing the developer more flexibility to place that line to exactly where the development is going to go in the future. So I don't have anything else to add. I'd invite you to invite the applicant up as well if he has anything to add.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cavatuller. Mr. Coffey, anything to add here? You stuck around this long, you might as well say something to us. Thank you for being here.
If you've got any questions about why we brought this forward, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Yeah, great, thank you. I did have one question for you. If, noting the public work concern, it seems like if you were going to place a building in a different spot on a lot anyway, you may still be digging that up to move the sewer line. Is that the case? Like you still may be?
That's correct. What we're really proposing is let's install one water and one sewer line for the need of the building to be built instead of guessing at the time of development of the lot. Let's wait until the actual building is planned, and let that builder and that developer determine where they need to put that water and sewer line.
Thank you. Other questions, council members, for staff or Mr. Coffey? Okay. All right, thank you. Councilor Pierce, please, go ahead.
Not for Mr. Coffey, but for staff. Sorry, Dave. If we approve this and we have a situation where down the road, a road is going to have to be torn up because we've passed this, the cost of that, who bears the cost, the city or the developer?
Honorable Mayor, through you, if I'm understanding the question correctly, in this situation, if this were passed, yes, the developer would be required to put in those improvements. They are, yeah, I mean, the city maintains what's in the right of way, but the connection and what's on private property would remain the developer's financial burden.
And refixing the road, that's basically what you're saying. They would be responsible for.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce. Other questions? All right. Turn it over to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak this can come forward in the room or raise your hand on Zoom. All right. Seeing none, council before the vote. All right. Mr. Coffey, thank you for working with staff to bring these forward. Sure appreciate it. All right. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Shumway.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel, absent. Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 absent, Your
Thank you,
Honor.
City Clerk. That item is passed to first reading. We're going to move on to public comments on non-agenda items. If there's a member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any item that is not on our agenda this evening, now is your chance. Go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I will close public comment. And council members, any future work session topics that you're particularly eager for us to discuss? Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah.
can we just get a little clarification on a topic that was on the list?
Yes, of course you can. Well,
The
maybe.
buffer zoning for downtown commercial district. We just wanted to clarify whether we're removing that from the list or whether that's remaining.
So we have Councilor Pierce and Councilor Somerville. Councilor Somerville and I had discussed this at some point. I don't know if one of you wants to provide clarification or...
Derek sent an email out yesterday or the day before, and I was okay with just removing it and just left it up to Councilor Somerville. So if she has an opinion on it tonight, that'd be fine.
Mayor, I'm fine with just going ahead and removing it.
Okay. Thank you both. Somehow we opened this period and made our list shorter. Imagine that. Okay. Any other conversation on work sessions? Great. Okay, folks, we're going to go to Councilor Pierce for a quick motion on our adjournment before adjournment.
Okay, I move that we postpone our executive session regarding litigation, Wyoming statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Roman numeral 3, to September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Pierce, seconded by Newman. Council members, any discussion?
Thank you.
All right. The public is certainly welcome to weigh in on this postponement. Seeing none, we will go back to the council. All right, City Clerk, you can call the roll on postponement.
Gabriel, absent. Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That has been postponed. That executive session has been postponed to September 3rd. Councilor Pierce, get us out of here.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we adjourn.
Okay, motion by Pierce, second by Newman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.